Hey, what's up, y'all? Back with more discussions on the sneaker industry that you may be overlooking, and I want you guys to be as informed as possible. So today's discussion is dealing with StockX and the fact that they're offering 0% payment processing fees for sellers. Now, what you have to think about in this regard is eBay's, you know what? Don't let me get ahead. Let's get directly to the discussion over here to the side. So, you read the blurb from StockX. It says, we're excited to announce great news for sellers on StockX. For a limited time, StockX is removing the 3% payment processing fee for sellers. This new 0% rate is in effect now and will be automatically applied to any ask you place in the future, as well as any existing ask you currently have listed. Now, why is this important? I put a link there that you can click through. If you go and read the article, you can click through and read the information directly from StockX. Why is this important, and how does it compare to eBay's no fees? First, we have to look at the documentation of growth of StockX. Now, this may surprise a lot of you out there, but it shouldn't. And I'll try to explain why. So if you look at the growth of StockX, it kind of delivers information on the platform. And the fact that that platform, that StockX, surpassed the website traffic of e-commerce platforms of retailers with brand accounts. What does that mean? Simply stated, StockX currently gets more website traffic than all of the major wholesale partners of Nike and Adidas. Now, if you look at this chart, you'll see that monthly visits for StockX are at 31.83 million a month. They win in the categories of monthly visits versus Foot Locker, Hibbett, JD Sports. I could continue to add different websites. I could even go as far as looking at Stadium Goods. But if you total up the monthly visits of Foot Locker, Hibbett, and JD Sports, 13, 5, 3, it doesn't come close to the amount of website traffic that StockX gets. And this is an interesting discussion because StockX has an app. You would think that more people would be using the app versus using the desktop version of StockX. And this is something that GOAT had to correct. For a long time, they relied solely on the app. Being able to see everything spread out kind of helps StockX in that regard. Now, if you go down the list of the different stats here, monthly unique visitors, visit duration, the site that's getting the best visit duration is Hibbett.com, and I wrote about Hibbett's website in another article that you can go to the website and read. And I explained why Hibbett is doing so great in visit duration. The site that gets the most pages per visit is JDSports.com. They have an extremely diverse product mix. And the fact that it was born in the UK kind of, even though the UK isn't factored into this, this is the United States website traffic. But because of that diverse product mix that JD Sports has, I think that has a lot to do with the pages per visit. The bounce rate goes to Hibbett. The difference isn't that big, but it's enough that Hibbett keeps people on the site longer, which you see visit duration and bounce rate. Now, the page views, StockX absolutely demolishes every other website associated with a Nike or an Adidas account. 130.8 million page views a month for StockX. Foot Locker is the next closest at 43 million. StockX, for a company still privately held, to be able to show growth is a measurement that inspires confidence for an eventual initial public offering, IPO. StockX isn't quite at this point, but if you think about the recent updates and adjustments, it shows the platform is looking to shore up their revenue after a lot of the data that I created, I actually did a bunch of different. I'm going to open this tab so you can see it. I started compiling data on StockX. And in many instances, what I found is StockX loses money on a lot of the sneakers and items sold in the low to mid-tier price range. Now, this article was written 2 years ago, and it was at that time when eBay was doing the no fees and things like that. And what I came up with was a negative $3 loss on every transaction for StockX. And that was 2 years ago for any item that was $100 or less. And I also showed that eBay makes more money than StockX. But they also have lost so much traffic, it's not even funny. I've done stats on that. You can ask me about it. You can leave a comment and say, yo, what's the website? What's the article for that? And I'll give you that article. But in this post, right? In this post, I broke down that StockX was losing those, money on smaller transactions. But here are the changes that they've made over the last year. And they've implemented these things. Express ship has been implemented. What is Express ship? On popular sneakers, StockX is holding pairs in their warehouses, and they are pre-authenticated and they're capable of reaching the consumer in 3 to 5 days versus the extended window it takes for a transaction to be completed, 7 to 14 days. This inspires consumer confidence. Express ship is a bonus. It's the same as the NFT in the vault thing, if you remember when that happened. But obviously Nike sued them, and I think that's an ongoing case. I'd have to go back and look at it again. The second thing that they implemented was a bulk shipping and single shipped adjustment. Sellers shipping one pair of shoes have an added charge of $4 on their side. So the buyer is at $14.95 that they have to pay for shipping. And on the seller side, if you're sending one item, you get a $4 charge. Now, the sellers that are using bulk shipping have adjusted shipping charges based on the number of sneakers in the box. It fluctuates. That number changes, okay? But shoring up that revenue that bulk shipping adjustment is an important thing that they implemented. The express ship is important. The bulk shipping is important. Now, the 0%, it would seem that this would be creating a situation where StockX is kind of diminishing the amount of revenue that they make. However, that 3% processing fee differentiates StockX from every website you purchase on. So at the end of February, right, StockX rolled out the removal of the payment processing fee. That fee was a 3% difference in the price of a sold product. Now, for sellers, the best way to explain the benefit is with an example. If you sell a product for $100, the seller used to earn $87. The seller now earns $90. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It is. The 0% processing fee is much smarter than eBay's strategy of no fees. If we go back and we look at that no fees strategy from eBay, we need to consider it a red herring, right? It was something to throw us off because eBay's zero fees program only applied to items sold above $100. The majority of sneakers sold on eBay are typically arbitrage or closeout sneakers, and they sell for under $100. So that zero fee strategy was just an attempt at bringing back the mid to premium sneaker sellers or else a sneakerhead community. So eBay decided to focus on sneaker culture. Now, to their detriment, well, I take that back because whatever they did seemed to work because sales have spiked for eBay across the board. If you look at the search of sneakers and men's on eBay, but the average sold price has dropped. Now, that data is in another post on the site, and you'll have to go to the reports link. If you go up here to the top, you click reports, you'll find that report in there. Let's jump back into this. All right. StockX's growth, right? We looked at that up here. that growth that StockX has is placed like a lot of distance between eBay and itself, right? eBay eventually ended their no fees program. StockX does not have a timeline for the end of their 0% payment processing fees, which is a big deal for you guys who are selling. Now, when I wrote and asked about the timeline for it ending, this was the answer. For the no transaction fee, it might be around a while. It might not be. We want to have it long term and are testing how it goes. I wrote a few other questions. Those went unanswered. We are where we are. But when we think about it, this last play by StockX arrives at an extremely critical time. Nike and Jordan Brand dominate resale on the StockX platform, but sales are down. StockX is offering this as a jolt for their sellers. Picking up 3% is a considerable return on sold products. 3% is a lot. Anybody that tells you different doesn't understand business. Now that resale has slowed, StockX is seeing more trades, more small trades. And that's evidence if you get their Power Sellers Sneakers report. And I'm going to open this in a new tab, open link in a new tab. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pop that open so you can see it clearly. If you look at the top 20 shoes, let's keep reading here. Let's keep reading. When fees are factored in for this top 20 sneakers sold on StockX, outside of the two Kobe Protros, the Yeezy Slides, and the Travis Scott, basically 5 shoes, there aren't really any margins if sneakers are being purchased at retail. That brings us to a different discussion. Where are the sneakers coming from? Unfortunately, StockX built its platform on premium sales. With resale prices below, at, or just above retail in most instances, the same sneakers capable of being sold on StockX can be picked up at retail or on retail websites. This means that StockX is now in direct competition with Foot Locker, Hibbett, and JD Sports. That's extremely important to consider. When you go back up there and you look at that chart, Hibbett and JD Sports are one of the most important data points, and that's pages per visit, time duration, and bounce rate. The difference isn't big, like I said before, but when you consider the wholesale partners of Nike or where many of the products sold on StockX are acquired, it becomes clear how Nike has shaped resale. The slowdown in resale is even more evident when Nike is added to the website traffic engagement data. Now, what do I mean by that? When you add in Nike to this chart, when you add Nike to it, it becomes apparent why resale is flat. If anybody ever wondered or asked the question why things are so slow right now, adding in Nike on this chart, at the end, down here, Nike wins every category except bounce rate, which is still won by Hibbett Sports. And like I said, Hibbett is doing a lot of things that are very similar to a resale site in how they're presenting information on Hibbett.com. They're doing a great job. And I wrote about that, like I said, in another article that you can go and read on the site. But look at these numbers. 134 million visits a month to Nike. StockX is second. Nike has raised prices, right? This chipped into low to medium tiered resale. There isn't any long-term fear of missing out involved in hype sneaker releases at this point right now. That hinders the premium resale value of shoes. Nike completely dominates all categories except bounce rate, like I said, which means the swoosh is keeping consumers inside of their digital ecosystem. They are creating these different programs and sneakers. They pull the consumer in. The consumer spends 3 times as much inside of Nike than they do if they're on another brand's website. While Nike does need wholesale accounts, because the brand's shortcomings are considerable, Nike has more cracks in the foundation, and that leaves resale closer to where it always was. Resale used to be about hard to find and truly coveted pairs. That's what resale used to be. What happened over the last few years has left the middle part of the business squeezed. But that's kind of always the case. The middle always gets squeezed. The fees, the 0% processing fee from StockX, it's a balm. Something to just smooth over and kind of, try and repair the resale market as it sits. But this is a difficult market. StockX's ultimate fix has to be in becoming more accessible to all consumers. In other words, I'm comparing StockX to Foot Locker, Hibbett, and JD Sports, not necessarily Nike.com, because StockX is where people go for a premium. StockX has to become more accessible if they are to remain relevant. The 0% processing fee will get sellers to sell more, but it could drive the prices down to the point where there isn't any resale at all except on hard to find items, truly coveted pairs. It could be that the moment for the person that utilizes reselling as a business, that day may be coming to an end sooner than people think. You can get everything you want now. It's a really interesting discussion. I don't know if you guys had paid attention to these kind of statistics before, but I'm hoping this has helped you to think about the sneaker industry in a different way. That's what these posts are for. I will see you guys on the next one. Yeah, that's it. Like, share, and subscribe. And I appreciate all you new subscribers and the old subscribers. The site is growing, and that's fantastic. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.